Hi, everyone. We are now live. I can see we've got a few people joining us already, and we'll give everyone a second just to log in. I'm back once again for my monthly live coaching webinar, and I'm back with two members of the Powerful Men's Group. This week, or this month, should I say, we've got Bram and Trushar, and they've got some topics that they would like coaching on. Sometimes what happens is what they think they want coaching on changes, or if they go second, that changes. So that's completely open. And I'm looking forward to this as usual. There's a little bit more light as we get towards summer. Normally I'm sitting in dark, but I may switch the lights on later on. And hopefully we shouldn't have too many issues. I think last month we did have some connection issues. We're just editing that now, and that last month's replay will go live on the YouTube channel soon, and I'll let you guys know in the group once that's done. If you're live and listening to us, do use the chat functionality on the side of the screen and say hello. I can see a few more people logging on. Hi, Joel. I can see you saying hello, everyone. I'll be listening in on the conversation. I'm currently going through my workout routine. Well, that's something for us to think about. I'm glad you're keeping in shape. And I can see we've got a few more people joining us. Okay, so, and by the way, if you've got any questions, if you've got any thoughts whilst I'm delivering the coaching, again, please use the chat functionality. It's one of the benefits of joining us live. And, you know, sometimes I might coach someone on something. You might miss something that I've said, or you know, it might be relevant to you. I'm happy to take a few moments and answer any questions that you might have. So please do take advantage of that. Right, I believe Bram is going to go first.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just start, Bram, and I think people will join as they join. So,
okay,
Bram, first, tell us what would you like coaching on today?
Yeah, so what I want coaching on has changed a little bit since we first spoke, and it's more of a recent thing, and that is that lately I came to realize that about 5 years ago my parents divorced, and at the time my dad told me that he had a new girlfriend. And I never really knew how to take it, but over the last month or so, I've just been really mad at him. Just these thoughts have just been coming up in my mind, and I only realized that I was mad at him just now. And I feel like this is in between our relationship, and I really want to tell him, but I'm just scared to do that because I'm afraid how we will react, how we will respond to that. So yeah. I guess my question is, can you help me to see that differently, or to be able to do that?
So just help me a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
What would you want to say to your dad, or what does it look like you'd like to say to your dad right now, if you knew he would take it well? Like if there wasn't a concern, how he would take it?
Then I would just tell him that I just want to tell him that I want to let him know that I have been very mad at him at the time. Yeah, just like that. I just want to say how I felt a couple of years ago, because I never really showed almost anyone in my family really how I felt. I just blocked it all off, and I just pretended I didn't care. So I just want to let him know, so he knows how I feel about it.
And why is that important? Why is it important for him to know that you're mad at him?
I guess for me it's important that that he knows or understands how I really felt about it.
This might sound like a stupid question, but why is that important?
I don't know. I just feel like it, I guess.
If you had to take a stab in the dark, if you had to take a guess, why do you think it's important for you to tell your dad that you were angry at him?
Well, I guess for me, what my guess is that I just want him to know how I really felt about it. That I want him to know that I had feelings about it as well. That it wasn't like I didn't care. That it wasn't like everything was okay for me.
Do you think that he thinks you didn't care about your father and your mother getting divorced?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, yeah, I think he thinks differently about it. I already think that he thinks I struggle with it, but I never showed it. But yeah, I think he kind of knows, but he doesn't know what really was going on in me, inside of me.
And what would be the ideal outcome for you? Like, you talk to your father, what would be the purpose of that? Or the result that you're looking for?
Yeah, I really thought about this question, and I like at first I really just wanted to get a good reaction out of it. So I guess I'm hoping to get a good reaction that he's like, wow, I didn't know that you had those feelings, and I feel and I understand that you've felt mad, and I'm sorry for that. I guess I want that kind of a reaction.
You want him to apologize for you feeling bad?
Not necessarily. Not really necessarily. I more want him to be aware of the fact that I felt that way.
Can I take a guess? Is it possible for me to take a guess as to what you're really looking for?
Yeah, sure, please.
How would you say your relationship is with your dad right now?
It's okay. That's what I would say.
Okay. Because my guess is that you want to be more connected to your father.
Yes.
It sounds like the purpose of this, or the result that you're really looking for behind what you're saying, is you want a deeper sense of connection with him. Is that correct?
That's definitely correct, yeah.
Okay. So are you open to maybe exploring this in a slightly different way?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So what if your real purpose, if what you're really looking for is to have a better relationship with your father, to have a deeper sense of connection, what if telling him how you felt and telling him that you were mad and upset isn't the quickest way to get there?
Well, then what is the quickest way?
Well, and maybe quickest way isn't the right language. Let me ask you another question. Where do you think that sense of connection, or that feeling of connection with your father, what creates that? Where does it come from?
Well, it just comes from how I think that our connection is. So how do I change that?
So let me just back up a second, right?
Yes.
Because I feel like you might be trying to say that what you think is the right answer, right? What if you are already connected to your father?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if that feeling of connection is already there, right? Or the actual connection is already there. The bond is already there. And in fact, he's not stopping you having that bond. It's not that you need to take certain actions to have that bond or create that connection or get that connection back.
Mm-hmm.
You're living in that connection. You just don't realize it. Can I give you a story to maybe give you an example about that from my own life?
Yeah, sure.
So I remember very clearly back in 2008, I traveled to Canada because my uncle, my dad's younger brother, had passed away. And I went with my father over there for the funeral. And it really hit me that my cousins had lost their father, right? And they wouldn't ever be able to tell him how they really felt. That really struck me.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted a deeper connection with my own father.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted that. And what I realized was it was there already. Like, it was there for the taking. But I couldn't tell my father that I loved him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just, the words wouldn't come out of my mouth. But that's what I really wanted inside.
Mm-hmm.
And what I wanted to say to him at the time is, hey, I don't know how much longer you're going to be around for, because this episode has shown me, if it's shown me anything, it's shown me that life is unpredictable and we don't know how long we're here for.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to have a better relationship with you.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back, that feeling of connection was already there. It was there for the taking. The only thing, because my dad wanted that connection with me, and I guarantee that your father wants that connection with you.
Yes,
But
I'm
the
sure.
only thing stopping that connection, it's not about telling him that you were angry, telling him that you were upset, because you know that's not the best way to connection. But it's more about just allowing that connection to happen rather than stopping it. Do you see that's a totally different thing compared to changing your thinking about your father, right? Because that's a process and it's hard.
Yes.
Because do you get to choose your thinking about your dad? Or does it just occur, like it just happens?
Yeah, it just occurs.
Right? Same for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried for years to try and change my thinking. It doesn't work very well. You can change some of the thoughts some of the times, but it's like you're fighting an uphill battle.
Yeah.
But if you're already in connection with him, you don't need to change any of your thinking. You can still have those feelings of, or thinking of being mad at him, that he should have done better. You can still have all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can still go and give him a hug.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a whole different perspective.
I mean, can you see right now that if you went and told your dad, hey, I was really mad at you for divorcing my mom, it's probably not the best strategy. It's probably not the best way to get more connected to him. I mean, it might work. Or you can just shortcut that. Like, has your father ever been mad at you for stuff that you've done?
Mm. Maybe upset, but I don't think mad.
Right. What if every time he got upset, he told you, he expected you to apologize? Right? And expected you to feel bad about it, and he really wanted to know that you had upset him. What does that do to the relationship?
Well, yeah, if he would expect me to apologize, that would be different. I personally wouldn't mind him telling me that um, that he was upset, but I think I would really mind if he expected me um, to tell him that I'm sorry for that.
So it sounds like you're saying it all depends where you're coming from.
Yes, definitely.
See, I hear that as well. If you come from a place of I really want to be connected to you,
Hmm.
or even better than that, if you come from a place of, well, you tell me, if you came from a place and had a conversation with your dad of, I know we're already connected and I just want to experience more of that.
Hmm.
How do you think that would impact the conversation?
Yeah, enormously. It would just be so much different. And then I guess then telling him what I want to tell him would have like a different energy when I'm telling it. It wouldn't be blaming him for it or expecting a sorry or expecting a better connection. Interesting. Yeah, that would be so much different.
And do you see this applies to all relationships?
Hmm. Yeah.
You know, we put, or I'll say I'll change it. I put, or I have put certain relationships in certain categories, right?
Hmm.
Well, that's my father. This is different. That's my mother. That's different. That's my siblings. That's different. That's my best friend. He should be like this, right? Well, that's different.
Hmm.
Rather than seeing there's a universal understanding around relationships, we're all connected to one another,
Hmm.
whether we know it or not. Sometimes we forget. We're all connected. Just look at little toddlers. If a little bunch of toddlers get together, they don't care if you're male, female, black, white, whatever. They just go and play. They're already connected.
Hmm.
You get a bunch of people around where if someone's had a baby or they've got a small child, one toddler can entertain like 20 adults,
Hmm.
right? That little kid does have
Yeah.
no problem with connection. I bet you had no problem with connection with your father when you were very, very young.
Hmm.
That's still there.
Yeah, that's a relieving thing to know.
Do you think your father set about to hurt you?
Sorry?
Do you think your father set about to hurt you or upset you?
No, definitely not.
Do you think you go about any day trying to hurt or upset other people?
No. No.
So there's a real innocence in this.
Hmm.
And I find with men, especially, I don't know what it is, but we have a certain expectation, or even if it's unsaid, there's certain kind of quality to the relationship we have with our fathers. And we forget the innocence of our fathers.
Hmm.
They're just doing the best that they can. Really, because if they could do better, they would.
Hmm.
Like no dad wakes up, even the ones that are really struggling, they don't wake up and try and be a shitty dad. So how's that landing with you? We've got a few minutes left. How's that landing?
Well, I think it's a very relieving thing to realize and know. And I guess it's something that I kind of have to experiment with in the next weeks, days. Well, not that I have to experiment with that, but I can experiment with it, with that mindset. Well, it's not really a mindset, it's just the truth, but yeah.
Yeah, we don't have the length of a normal coaching conversation on things, but I do like to try and get as much as I can covered in the time we have. And I would make a request of you, and that is, would you be willing to write a little post in the Powerful Men's group in the next week or two and let us know how you get on with this new perspective in your relationship with your father?
Yeah, sure, I'll do. Yeah.
Because I'm sure there are other people that may be able to relate to your story and your question. And I think it'd be really helpful for others to really hear how this has gone for you, having seen this.
Yeah, sure.
We've got Steve who says loads of love. You are both great guys.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
I'm not sure if you meant you are both great guys as opposed to were, but
okay.
Yeah, are you complete for now?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for being really open and sharing with us in the group on this webinar. I really do appreciate it. I know it takes a certain amount of courage to open up and ask these sort of questions. And what I find is that every time that I do this, people can really relate to the questions that are asked. And even if the context is slightly different for people, it's still really helpful. So thank you for joining us. And I know you're going to hang around and listen to me coach Trushar. So
yeah, sure.
Stay on and we'll come back to you towards the end.
Thank you.
Trushar, if you could switch on your webcam and your mic, that would be appreciated. And while we're waiting for Trushar to do that, he's online already. If Bram, you could switch yours off, that would be great. And before we start with Trushar, if anyone's got any questions about what they may have heard with Bram, please, this is the time to ask them. Happy to dive in to that right now. Trushar, I know that you wanted some coaching, or the topic that you had in mind was about, I guess from the other side of the equation about fatherhood. Was it helpful for you to listen to that little interaction with Bram?
It was actually. It was very topical. So I'm coming from the other side, actually. I am the father. I've got 2 toddlers. I get to see my toddlers play with other toddlers and other adults, and they have no problem with connection, certainly. And, my general outcome for this session was going to be how can we discuss me being coached on being a better father? Now, that's a very wide topic, but actually listening to Bram, I think it would be wise now to continue this theme. And why don't we talk about how we can continue having that strong relationship going forward with the children? Because as we know, kids, they grow up and they get friends and they have arguments with parents and they become teenagers, etc. Which is very far down the line for me or for them. And it would be nice to know how I could just keep that strong bond. I mean, I love my kids love me, but I do often find them to be annoying and irritable and etc. But that doesn't stop our connection most of the time. It might make me feel all right. I want to break from the kids or whatever. But I'm worried to some extent that as I get older, the kids will pick up on that, and that will become a wedge between our relationship. You know, perhaps how Bram sees his relationship with his father since he's had a girlfriend. You know, something like that might certainly drive any son or daughter away from their father. I can understand that. But how can I be more sympathetic to my children's feelings, really, I suppose. I mean, we all know feelings aren't real, that all thoughts are random, they're made up. But you can't really go telling people that all the time. You know, you have to be a decent guy. You can't just be one of these guys that just says, "Oh, you're living in your feelings" or whatever. So that's my general direction I want to go in, Kush. And if you could chip in and discuss, I'd be really happy to listen to your comments.
Well, thank you for bringing it up, and we hadn't planned it to be this way, but yeah, it kind of follows a theme this evening. And the first thing that occurs to me, would you like to be called Trushar or Tush?
Oh, Trushar, definitely.
Trushar, okay. So the first thing that occurs to me, Trushar, is just the fact that you are asking this question. Just the fact that you're asking this question really tells me that you love your kids very, very, very much, and that you really, really value the relationship that you have with them. And that alone is worth so much, because I am sure there are lots and lots of fathers who don't do that. And there are lots and lots of kids who wished their father would ask this kind of question and really put it at the forefront of their mind. So one thing that I know is that, and Bram and I talked about, it's about where you come from. What I'm sensing is you're really coming from a place of love. And so that's something that you've really got going for you. So I want to state that first as a very positive thing that you've got there.
Thank you.
Now, I don't have my own children. I don't have kids myself. But one of the things that I do know is that, and I've spoken to some of my mentors and coaches who do have children, and one of the things that I've learned from them with regards to parenting has been, and you probably find this already, Trushar, that it's less about what you say to your children, but it's more about how you act. That's what children really pick up on. And so many times, and we do this to our kids, we do it to our siblings, we do it to nieces and nephews. We tell them what to do, and then we don't act in that way. So it's a case of do as I say, not as I do. Right? And our children pick up on this. So one of the things you were pointing to is one of the things that I really point people to, which is we're living in the feeling of our thinking. Now, I don't say feelings aren't real. They are. They're very real. We feel them, right? They're completely real for us in the moment that we feel them. But they are a reflection of our thinking in that moment. Now, it's one thing going around telling people you're living in the feeling of your thinking, but then in your own life, acting like that's not true, because that's what your children will pick up on. Whereas if they see that something happens in your life and you get really, really upset, or you get really, really angry, or you get really, really insecure, or really, really fearful, but you realize on some level that it's your thinking, and then you allow that thinking to pass, and they see you handle it in that way, that's what they're going to pick up and learn on. And when they see that, they're going to be very wise, young children, young adults. And if your children are tapping into that, whether you want to call it wisdom or if that's too woo-woo for you, call it common sense, because that's really what it is. That's when they've got the best chance to continue having the relationship with their father, who very obviously loves them. I was talking to a fellow coach earlier this evening, and he really had a problem with his son. And he was telling me that his relationship with his son has completely changed. And it completely changed. I don't normally recommend books that I haven't read. But this is one I will. I've heard so many good things about it, and it's so relevant to your situation. And it's called Parenting from the Heart by Jack Pransky. And I know you're an avid reader. I don't know if you've read it already, but if you haven't, I really encourage you to read that book. And what this coach was telling me was that his son was really acting up, and now just a few months later, he's not even read the full book, but a few months later, his son's behaviors completely changed. And he overheard his son the other day. He's got the son's the older, and then the daughter's younger. He heard his son teaching the daughter, like just teaching her exactly what they do. Like when they teach their kid, he was modeling that. And he said, I saw my son doing that, and he goes, I suddenly realized he's just modeling us. He's seeing how we act, how we behave, and that's how he's acting with his sister. Now, previously, when he was acting up, they were treating their son, him and his wife were treating their son like a problem. And they were acting in a certain way. It's a real big problem that our son's like this, that he's struggling. That's not how it should be. And they were feeling their thinking, but not realizing it. Not realizing that their fears and insecurities about their son was not real. It was coming from their thinking. Not that it wasn't real, it was real in the moment, but it wasn't a truth. And so, because they hadn't realized that was being reflected in their son's behavior. And instead, when they just saw their son as beautiful, complete, and whole, and completely fine, and then acted from that place, acted from that understanding, their son started showing up in that way too. So I don't know how that lands with you two.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain instances I've got in mind right now. My eldest, he is, when he's with people he knows, he is the center of attention. He loves being the center of attention. He's a cute kid and very talkative, very physical, loves climbing, loves building. I personally think he's a very smart child, as all parents do. But I think especially so. And comparing children, I would say my eldest is probably a bit sharper than my younger son. Not taking anything away from my younger son though. But I have noticed when we go into a new environment, or when we go and meet new people and new toddlers, then my eldest he does some weird stuff. It's like he withdraws and he does some weird stuff which draws attention to him, but he's causing trouble. And I've said to my partner, we're not married, but life partner, that I'm worried. I'm worried if this is antisocial behavior developing in my son. And I wonder, with what you just said, Kush, I wonder if that's more of a reflection of me, is that antisocial behavior that I see in me, and my son's just being my son, and I'm just worried that, hang on, this is sometimes how I behave, and I want to be, difficult. Is he going to end up like this? What's your thoughts on that, Kush?
Well, you tell me, Trisha, do you find that you exhibit antisocial behavior when you're in a new situation?
All the time. Oh, all the time.
So the real question is, are you willing to change that about yourself? Because it goes back to what I was saying at the beginning, because what you may fall into is do as I say, not as I do.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. 100% correct.
I was telling Bram that his relationship with his dad, I go, do you see that this is a universal thing? This is about how all relationships are. And I believe you know this already on some level, that it's really, really hard to change anyone else in any kind of relationship. And the thing that has the biggest impact in any kind of relationship is when we bring it back to us. We bring it back to us. How, so for me, if I want to change some kind of friendship, how am I acting in that friendship? If I want to have a better relationship with my wife, how am I acting in my marriage? If I want to have a better relationship with my parents, how am I acting as a son? And I found time and time again, when I try to change anyone else in any kind of relationship, not only did it not work, it often made things worse. And any time that I brought it back to myself and I looked at what could I do differently, how could I change, that is the only time that any relationship has got better.
So I'm hearing, Kush, that when my kids get older and they develop personalities that are different from what I'm used to, so I need to adapt to be more accommodating, perhaps.
Well, your kids are going to develop how they develop. And from what I see is the best thing that you can do, the best dad you can be, is by being the best true child you can be.
Sorry, I didn't hear that last few words.
I said the best dad you can be is by being the best true child you can be.
Yes, of course.
And we all know this, right? We all know this. If we know it in our love lives, we've got some things about us that we could change for the better. And when we do, then that changes our relationship. I was coaching a client of mine recently, and we were coaching around actually his business. And what came out of that conversation was he had really poor systems in place, right? He was very creative. He was willing to be coached and think about things differently. He was willing to take some action, but the systems and structure he put in place were really weak. Now, when he started to see this, he realized, okay, that's the kind of missing piece for me in my business. But what he also started to see was his girlfriend was really, really, really good at structure, right? She was good at planning and logistics. And they would really, really argue about this, right? They would really argue about it because he's like, no, I'm not structured. I don't want to plan ahead. Why are you like this? And all of a sudden he saw, like, no, that's something that's missing in me if I want to be more effective. And so as he started to really take that on board, it doesn't mean he's like 100% the same as her, but it's made their relationship better, like a lot better. I can vouch for that in my own marriage, right? When I've changed, and I have, a fair amount, as has my wife, but as I've changed since we've got married, really it's addressed things in me that I had overlooked. And I've become a better man for it. And it's improved our relationship. I can certainly speak similar to Bram. I wanted a better relationship with my father. That really came about as me being a better man. It wasn't about changing him. It wasn't about projecting my fears and insecurities on him or trying to get him to change. It was as I became a better man. And I tell you what, at the beginning, it required me to bite my tongue a few times. Right? I'm not saying it's always easy.
Yeah, I mean, what you're talking about is universal throughout all relationships.
I mean, even you talked about, I guess it comes down to fear and insecurity about, are my kids going to turn out okay? But, if you approach your kids from a place of fear and insecurity, like, are they going to turn out okay? You're going to be projecting that onto them. Now, imagine you entered into a romantic relationship from a place of fear and insecurity, right? Like, imagine you were single. Imagine you got into a relationship with a woman and you're like, I'm really, really scared she's going to turn into a psycho, right? I'm really scared she's going to turn into like this horrible person. Like, that's going to weigh on that relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. You're that's a very good example you just gave me there. And there are certain, let's say, aspirations I have for my children. I just hope I don't become that guy that forces things down my children's throats that I want for me, but couldn't actually achieve or do, and hoping to live through my children. I'm a little conscious of that because I am a little ambitious. So yeah,
just a little. I know you're a little bit. Just a little bit ambitious.
Just a yeah. Well, yeah. Enough said.
One of the greatest things that my dad did when we were growing up was, I've got two younger siblings, as you know, Trushar, and what my dad said was, do whatever you want. So when it came to A-levels, I mean, my dad wanted the best for all of us. He wanted us to do well. But he really said, do what you want to do. And my sister was playing around with either doing physics or medicine. And she was like, I don't know if I want to do medicine, or I'm not sure, should I do it? And I clearly remember this. My dad, unlike many other parents, right, did not push my sister to do medicine. He said, if you want to do it, you do it. And I really wanted to go into business. I actually wanted to be like my father. And he said, like, if that's what you want to do, then you do that. And he never pushed us in a kind of pushy way in terms of projecting on us that you should do this or should do that. And that was so helpful for us. And it's interesting that I see, in the case of my sister as a doctor, she's a fantastic doctor. And I'm sure there are lots of other fantastic doctors, but she's really, really done well because she's done it because she wants to do it. She's really got a passion for it. She's not been forced to do it or do it to make her parents proud or anything like that. She loves that. And I see that for myself as well in terms of running my own business. I've got a passion for it. I really enjoy what I do. I love what I do. I didn't do it to please my parents. And so it's kind of this fine balance, where you want the best for your kids, but also, like you rightly see for yourself, allowing them to do whatever they really want to do. That's when they're really going to perform the best. And the truth is, because this is true for both of us, Trushar, what we are capable of, and you know this, what we're really capable of, how powerful, the words I like to use is how powerful we really are, right? It's far, far greater than whatever we think, right? We're infinitely more powerful than what we think we are. So it's the same true for your kids. Whatever you think you want for your kids, what they're really, really capable of is far greater than that anyway. So when we come from just this place of love and real love, and by the way, when I say real love, to me, love isn't spoiling your kids, right? Love can be strict sometimes, like, no, it's bedtime, off you go to bed, right? Because they need that at a certain age. But that real true love, which I can see you've got in spades for your children, that's really going to help them grow. They're like flowers. You can't force a flower to go. All you can do is look after it, nourish it, and allow it to grow in whatever way it sees fit.
Good stuff.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Completely makes sense. Yeah, it's one of those things, where I would say I'm a non-conformist of sorts. I don't have a traditional job. I spend a lot of time with my children, and I think how I live, I think, is a lot healthier than most people. Just the whole package. I just think it's a lot better deal I have than most other people, just because I have so much free time, and I get to spend so much time with people that matter to me, etc., etc. And I want the same for my children. I want my children to see that as well. And I'm sure if I just lead by example, then they'll probably follow in my footsteps. But of course, I can't I don't know, berate them. I can't tell them or nag them. I think that's a good word to use. I can't nag them to be to live a certain life, because that's how I think you divide people from you.
Yeah, I think you're right that leading by example is the best thing you can do. And here's the thing: if they choose to go down a different path and they don't see that, well, that's their life to live and their mistakes to make. And again, the best thing you can do is just love them and be there for them. And you're absolutely right that if in that situation, either one of your sons is going down a certain path, you're like, oh, that's not the healthiest thing to do. The more that you push, the more that you no, you need to be like this is healthy, this is a better way to live. You know this yourself. It will push them away. And this is all common sense, because you're saying it yourself, right? You see this already for yourself, and this awareness that you have as a father. Like, I'll come back to what I said at the start. That's really what's going to serve you in your relationship with your kids. I mean, if every single father really loved their kids and showed it and was so diligent about it as you are, I'm sure it would change the world. I don't say that lightly.
Oh, thank you.
We've got some comments here from Helen. This is very interesting and useful for me as a parent of 2 teens and also as a coach. I have a client with perceived parenting difficulties. I think she's referring to my story about my father. Wise man, makes excellent sense, Kush. Yes, nagging and forcing will cause divides. You sound like a fabulous dad. Heart. And Steve says, smashing dad. I think he's aiming that at you, Trusha.
Well, thank you very much. It's still early days. My oldest is only 2.5, so there's lots of time for slip-ups.
Like I mentioned to Bram, would you be willing, and you don't have to, but would you be willing to share in the kind of coming weeks ahead what comes up for you off the back of this call, and if anything changes with your relationship with your children?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see anything happening with my relationship with my children next 2 weeks. So if something does happen, if I have some insights, I will certainly let the group know. but don't hold your breath.
We wrote. So we've got a few minutes left. Bram, I'm going to ask you to switch your video and your mic back on, and I'd love to hear from you. And again, like, you're so related to your coaching session at the beginning. How did that land for you? Was there anything that made sense for you in listening to you, Coach Touche, or Trushar, should I say?
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting, and I think it was interesting to hear it from a dad's perspective as well. I don't really know what to think about it yet, but it was interesting to hear it from a dad's perspective, definitely. So thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd love to take credit for organising this webinar in such a way that we were talked about such complementary issues, but I think it was just meant to be today, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
coaching both of you.
Whoa.
Helen saying, great webinar. Thank you. Is there anything else that either of you would like to say before we finish off today?
No, thank you. Thank you for your time, to both of you. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, same thing. Thank you.
Well, I will get this edited, and it should be up in a few weeks online. So if people want to watch this again, or if they missed it, then they can watch that in the group. And I want to honour both of you again for coming on here and being really open and sharing this. I'm sure I know a number of people do watch these afterwards, and they really get a lot of value from this. So thank you for volunteering, and I will see everyone next month when we'll have 2 more volunteers, and we'll be talking about a couple of different topics.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.